You are tuning in to Mad Genius Live, and stick around because I've got Alison Roman, the queen of dining in, here to talk about her new book. Good morning, everybody. My name is Justin Chapple. I am your host right here on Mad Genius Live every Thursday at 11 a.m. If you're tuning in and you're new, welcome. If you've been following along every week, I thank you for coming back. Please follow along online because we're live across the World Wide Web. Use the hashtag MadGeniusLive to hit us up with your questions, your comments, your suggestions, or your general love for my guest today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Alison Roman.
Hi.
Alison, thank you for coming on the show. I'm a huge fan of yours, obviously. I was telling you before we went live, I've been following Alison's cooking for years.
That's very sweet. It makes me feel very old, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
For many, many years, but not too many years, because we're both very young.
Not like a million years, we're super young.
Just like a few years, like under 5 or more. Because you've been cooking professionally for how many years?
Oh God, 12? 13, 12? Yeah.
Okay, that's not insignificant.
I started young, and I look very moisturized today. But yeah, it's been a minute. It's been a long time.
It's been a minute, but it's been really great minutes because you're such an incredible home cook. You're such an incredible professional cook, and I appreciate all your recipes, which is why I'm so excited to have you on.
Thank you.
Before we talk about the book, I have to mention, so if you're a fan of Alison's or you follow her on social, you can catch her at Alison Roman?
Alison E. Roman, 1 L, an E in the middle, Roman. Yeah, Alison E. Roman.
But chances are, if you're watching this program, you probably already follow her on Instagram, where she has like over 100,000 followers, I think.
That's true.
And when we started talking about what Alison was gonna cook on the show today, the first thing we said was she is not making the cookies. Because
I'm not making the cookies. He's not making the cookies. None of these people are making the cookies. We're not making the cookies.
And the reason for that is because everyone in the world is making these cookies.
Yeah. And there's going to be a backlash at some point, right?
There
like
will be,
you know, it's like people are going to tune in and be like, if I have to see one more cookie, they're going to lose their mind and they're going to, unsubscribe. And we can't have that. So
I don't think people are going to do that because the cookie is Alison's. What is it called? What's the recipe called?
Oh, I'm like, it's a cookie. It's called a salted butter chocolate chunk shortbread. I think that's the official title, but
we can look it up in the book.
Yeah, we've just shortened it to the cookie, capital T, capital C.
But it's taken the internet by storm. It actually, like, a lot of people are saying it broke the internet because it's like literally, and if you follow Alison on Instagram, like her Insta story every day is just like 1 billion screenshots of people who have made the recipe, and it's really cool. What I love about it is it combines 2 really classic cookies. So it combines the shortbread and it combines a chocolate chunk cookie.
Yeah.
To create a new classic cookie.
Yeah, it's new, it's familiar. I didn't want to, reinvent the wheel of the chocolate chip cookie. I didn't want to enter that race. It's stiff competition. People have a lot of opinions on chocolate chip cookies, so I thought it best to kind of take a step back and just, make something new that people can't compare it to. So even though they are comparing it to it. They're like, is this as good as a chocolate chip cookie? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe.
But the best part is that everyone will now be comparing future cookies to yours. But we're not going to do the cookies today. We're going to talk about...
That's not why we're here.
Alison's new book. We are going to make a couple recipes from it. And this is Alison's book, Dining In. A lot of you might have it already. And so we were talking before the show because we wanted to point out that it's actually a little hard to find right now because it's sold out of most online retailers.
Yes.
And so Alison made a comment to me. She was like, or, if Amazon is sold out, you could call your local bookstore.
Support small businesses.
Support small businesses, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whatever. And just give your local bookstore a call. They probably will have it in stock. You can pick one up. But if not, it will be back and it will be available everywhere in like a week or 2.
In the let's say the next 2 weeks to be safe so nobody, I don't know. People
so we don't
are
get
asking
the
me all the time, and but also available at Barnes & Noble, barnesandnoble.com. But yeah, I love to just call up, local bookstores and ask if they have it in stock, and if they don't have it in stock, maybe they'll order it, and it will be in stock in 2 weeks.
And if you're following us on Facebook, then I think we're dropping in the comments a link to Barnes & Noble where we've confirmed that the book is available, at least for the last 5 minutes.
We have confirmation. Okay.
Is the book available on Barnes & Noble? I think it is.
We're all set.
But so, Alison, you wrote Dining In, and so tell us about, why did you write the book? What's it about?
You know, it's about dining in. No, well, I basically wanted to create a book of really highly cookable recipes, a book that people would use all the time, no matter what they were doing, whether it was a Tuesday or a Saturday, or if they're having friends over, or if it's just themselves, you know, something that was really approachable and super, you know, utilitarian. I wanted them to actually use it to, you know, put Post-its in it to get it dirty, to ding the corners and get the pages all sloppy with olive oil. And I just want it to be really lived in, like a cozy sweater, or like, you know, something.
Or my oil-stained apron.
Exactly, yeah, which ages very well, just like us.
Just like
anyway,
us.
yeah, so, you know, something that people would kind of come back to again and again and read and feel empowered to switch up the recipe, make it their own, kind of interpret it as they will. And, you know, next time they're shopping for lamb chops or chicken thighs, they sort of remember what they read in the book and they're like, oh, I know that I'm looking for this, even if they're not making the recipe in the book. So the goal was to kind of teach people, inspire people to just cook for themselves more. And so far, I think it's working.
I think it's working. And you can actually, if you follow people online when they post recipes from the book, it's very clear that people are using it as a teaching moment, because some people will post a picture of like the paprika rub chicken or whatever, and they're like, I didn't have this, so I did that. Or they make a salad where you use lemon, and they're like, I didn't have lemon, I only had lime, so I used lime. But people are still posting it as if it like came right out of the book.
Right, and I think that's the best part, is that people feeling really emboldened to kind of do it themselves and think, you know, I think Alison would approve, and I do approve. You know, just because you didn't follow the recipe to the T, you're following the spirit of the book, which hopefully is generous enough to make you cook at home at least once a week.
Definitely. And you know, so when I invited Alison on the show, we talked about this one. We wanted this to be an Oscars themed show, but since the Oscars are this weekend, and I started thinking about like, okay, so we need to do hors d'oeuvres and finger foods and like all these things that you would make for an Oscars party. But then I thought about like, well, how do I actually watch the Oscars? And I was like, I'm usually in like flannel PJs and a bowl of soup with like Doritos as well, or popcorn or whatever, just something simple. And I was like, I don't throw those parties with like hors d'oeuvres and stuff like that. And then it reminded me why Alison was coming on the show, which was to talk about her book Dining In. And one of the things I love about it, and the reason why we're not doing hors d'oeuvres and doing all these finger foods is because
I'm not good at it.
No, it's because Alison has this way of like, her food before the book and her food in the book is she makes highly cookable recipes, but she does very simple things, and she either uses a modern twist or changes up an ingredient so that they feel really special. And I think that is very Oscars worthy.
Yeah, it is Oscars
to do
worthy.
just kind of everyday food, but make it special.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing today.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to take forever. I think it's the kind of thing, if also these recipes can very easily be increased if you're having 4 people over and then 3 more people at the last minute are like, oh, we're also coming over, which happens every time you have people over. These can easily be scaled, and it's not a ton of time commitment. Like, we're gonna make everything right now in real time, so.
We're doing a whole Oscars menu.
Well, except for the potatoes.
We're gonna start with crispy smashed potatoes, right?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so we're gonna do a couple recipes today. Alison's gonna make her crispy smashed potatoes with fried onions, and she's gonna make some lamb chops. And so we're gonna get cooking. So if you have comments, or if you have questions, or you just wanna praise Alison, or me, if you'd like, hit us up, hashtag #MadGeniusLive, and let's go for it.
Okay, so there is a recipe in the book called crispy smashed potatoes with fried onions and lots of parsley, and that's what we're gonna make. And this recipe came from the idea that I just love a boiled potato. I do. So there's a whole essay, it's a short one, and I titled it, wait for it, I love boiled potatoes.
She's not lying, it's literally in the book, it says I love boiled potatoes.
The genius was really flowing that day, obviously. So the idea being that you can boil a potato, or steam it in this case, and have them on hand, and you can do a number of things with them, but probably the most delicious thing that you can do with it is to fry it in olive oil, chicken fat, whatever kind of leftover fatty situation you have, and crisp them up, right? There's literally nothing better than that. And the reason I like to steam them sometimes instead of boiling them, if you have the option, is because they absorb less water. So they're gonna just be a little bit drier, which will give you a better crispy smashed potato. And Justin gave me this really cool little like steamer basket. I was like, did you make me dumplings? And he's like, no, that's what your potatoes are. So, you know, and I feel like you were worried about the size of the potato.
I was, because they're all over the map.
But
it's definitely not new potato season, but we went to like 3 stores to find smallish potatoes.
Yeah, and I think you did a great job. And you know, but this is a good way to illustrate that you can use a potato up to this size, but you can also use a potato that's this size.
It's a little baby
which
potato.
Is just the cutest thing you've ever seen. So before we crisp them, we're gonna smash them. And these are a little warm.
Is that okay? Like, do you want them to be warm?
Yeah, yeah. You can also do these from cold. Like it can be any way you like.
All right,
but
I'll
it
take
is
some
kind of
of
nice
that.
to smash a warm potato with your hand. Like,
Is that what we're
feels
doing?
Nice.
Okay.
Well, okay, so we can use our hands, or we can use the bottom of a dish. We can use
glass
the
or
bottom of a
something.
glass. We can use a fish
am
spatula.
not prepared to.
No, you could use the book. Like you could literally use anything that allows it to flatten and crisp. But using it with your hand is kind of nice because you have a little bit more control of how it feels. You're like, oh, it's this thick.
Right.
You gotta really do it to know what I'm talking about.
And
I
so
guess I
you're
don't need-
smashing them just to be what, like a ½ inch, 3/4?
Yeah. And you want to smash them so that they expose some of that inner flesh. You really nailed it. And not so much that they fall apart, right? And that also has a lot to do with the kind of potato that you're using, because if it's too floury, it'll kind of explode. You know how when you make a baked potato and you crack it open and it's like really fluffy and floury?
And airy.
Yeah, that would be a horrible candidate for this situation. So these are small, tiny, waxy potatoes. Also so good, right?
Because I love a boiled potato.
Same. We're gonna fry these in chicken fat today because Justin has it. I sometimes have it in my fridge if I've made a chicken that, I'm cooking in a lot of olive oil in a baking dish. There's a recipe for that in the book. Oh, wow. I feel like coming in
Wow,
hot
you really
over
know
here.
how to open that wick jar
I know,
there,
my
Alison.
goodness. But you can use, like I said, olive oil. You can use anything you like. But this is really,
I mean, that's some pretty nice schmaltz.
luxurious. You're gonna feel very,
Decadent.
this is very Oscars worthy, if I do
It's
say
true,
so.
but this is one of the things I was talking about in how Alison cooks is that, sure, you can do it in olive oil and that's really special because you have this crispiness, but then like taking it one step further and like using up that leftover chicken fat or whatever, like just makes it feel a little luxurious and a little fancier.
We haven't made an Oscars joke yet, so I just want to put that on your radar.
Are we looking for Oscars?
I don't know.
jokes?
I feel like we could do like, these win the Oscar for best crispy smashed potato. I don't know. There's something in there. I'm gonna work on it. We'll keep you posted, but I feel like we can start thinking about it together.
When I was going through your book and we were trying to pick something to cook, I was like talking with, so our restaurant editor here at Food and Wine, Jordana Rothman, who's also a very good friend of yours, we were talking, leafing through your book, being like, well, what should we cook? And Jordana had a lot of opinions, and one of the things she started saying was, you guys should pick all sorts of recipes that like kind of speak to some of the movies that are out there, that are nominated.
Call
for
Me by Your
Oscars.
Potato. That was
Well,
a
of course,
bad joke.
there was a lot of,
Bad.
there are definitely food jokes.
I was
for
gonna
that
say,
movie.
yeah, we're gonna stay away from that though. If you've seen the movie,
We'll stay away from that one.
which I wept through. Like
I wept through it. It
I read the
destroyed
book
me.
after I saw the movie, which almost never happens.
I did the same
Like,
thing.
right?
Yeah.
And now I want to see it again. Okay, I'm gonna add the potatoes now.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Because our fat is hot and shimmering. And you're not deep frying these, but you do want a good amount of fat in your skillet. And you can always add more. But yeah, there we go.
And if you can always like use more to kind of get them really crispy, but then if you're not into like wanting to consume it at the end, you just don't eat it.
Yeah, just leave the fat in the skillet.
Just leave it in the skillet.
Well, we're gonna do like a pretty naughty thing, and we're gonna add some. It's really naughty. We're gonna add some butter after.
Butter
I don't think
and
I've
chicken
I've
fat?
never said
What
the
is
word naughty
happening?
before, like in earnest, and that was a first for me. So I'm glad that
So then
it's
you
been
had to poke fun
immortalized
at it a
on the
little bit.
internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, because butter fried onions on top of crispy smashed potatoes is probably
Nothing like it.
nothing like it. And so you don't want to crowd them. This is a really big skillet, and we're
Yeah,
working on
that's
an
like a
induction
giant
burner, and so it, the way it's sitting is your fat's getting a little concentrated, but just follow the fat. Like wherever the fat is, if your skillet's, a little wonky, just concentrate them in the center.
We're getting so many like incredible one-liners from you right now. I hope somebody is like following and writing.
Okay, who's
it
writing
down.
this down?
Follow the fat.
Follow the fat.
I'm not sure it's like a hashtag quite yet, but
No.
that could be like the title
If
of your
I see
next
it,
book.
if I see it though, I'll be like, I know where that came from. Okay. I'm doing this pretty
Delete all the
preciously, but
footage.
that's just because I'm feeling like, I'm a Virgo, I'm feeling like very like,
I'm a Virgo.
Really?
Yeah,
When's your birthday?
September 8th.
First.
Oh my gosh! I just read my daily horoscope today.
What's gonna happen for
Like
us?
apparently on like March 17th, something great, like news of money is coming March 17th. So
Is it coming
Pay attention.
from the potato board? Is there a potato board? Do they have money?
I think there is.
Give
It's
us a
probably
call.
the Idaho potato board, right?
Okay, so these are just gonna hang out, and you can do a few more. But if you're doing more than I wouldn't crowd the pan too much more than this, but there's no reason that you couldn't just fry these, flip them, and then do another batch, like if you're feeding a lot of people. Just make sure to
and because they're smashed, it's like a very forgiving recipe because if they fall apart, like who the hell cares?
Yeah, then you have like hash browns and they're awesome. So I'm gonna slice, or do you wanna slice the onion?
Sure.
While I get working on lamb chops?
I could do that.
Because I'm not sure where we are on time, but I'm sure we have
We
endless
have all the time in the world.
Okay, so-
Not really, but.
So you're gonna slice those. I like to do really thin rings, and
Okay.
I like to say that you're not making onion rings, like onion rings, but you're making rings of onion. Because I would never falsely lead you to the promise of an onion ring if I was just giving you a sliced onion. That would be really cruel.
You should not mess with someone's
Don't
onion
ever do
ring.
that. But you want like pretty
like,
thin slices. I'd
Looking
say
for
like,
a bowl here.
you know,
I need a compost bowl.
that's very Rachel Ray of us. That's the first person who ever taught me how to do that.
To use a compost bowl?
Yeah, well, to like have like a trash bowl. She was really big on
I
that.
learned that in culinary school, actually. But you're right, because I was watching Rachel Ray before culinary
Yeah,
school.
Exactly. Weren't we
Okay,
all?
so you just want this cut into rings?
Yeah,
Like how thick?
Yeah, that's beautiful. No thicker than that. Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Okay, so while Justin is doing that for us, he's gonna keep an eye on those potatoes. And I'm gonna get the spice mixture for the lamb. And this is a spice mixture that I use on chicken, pork, potatoes. You can use it on beef. It's basically Szechuan peppercorns, which can be annoying to find. I hear you. You can order them online if you got to. It's like sort of the one thing where you're like, oh, do I have to? And I guess no, but you should. Also, you buy a bag and they'll probably last you a very long time. So
just as a side note, like one of the things I sometimes tell people, and please tell me if you disagree, because it's actually, I just happen to have an opinion on it, is sometimes when I call for Szechuan peppercorns and people can't find them, I tell them to use white peppercorns, especially if you're grinding it, because it gives you that little bit of the like tingly dryness that you get from Szechuan.
I'm like very against white peppercorns, but I think it's only because I worked in a restaurant many years ago that used them exclusively, and the smell of it gives me like PTSD. Like I can't, it's like drinking Gatorade, because when I had mono when I was 15, I drank it, and like
This is
I
the
can't
second
drink it
time we
anymore.
talked about you having mono
That's true.
today.
I know. Well, I know. It was many years ago.
So that's how I feel about picking herb leaves, like parsley leaves and stuff like that. Because when I was in restaurants, it was like literally for the first 6 months of working in a restaurant, that's what you did.
Yeah, pretty much.
So you have your Szechuan peppercorns in here, you have cumin seeds,
Yeah.
and crushed red pepper.
Yes, and so you can do this with a knife if you want to just chop them on your cutting board. You can also do it in a Ziploc bag with a rolling pin. You can do it in a spice mill if you have it.
So when should I be flipping these?
Let's check on one.
Probably a little bit more.
Yeah, just a touch more. The ones in the center are probably going to cook a little faster, so I feel like these are going to be ready
Yeah.
before. And you can move them around. It's like, you know, it's a game of life, you know? Things are not always going to
I
cook at
love the
the same
game
time.
of life. Like
And
the
you
actual
gotta,
board
you gotta
game.
react. You gotta adjust and react. And that's one thing you should know also about like cooking your potatoes is that, especially if they're not all the same size, because rarely will you get a bag that's like, oh, they're all the perfect same size. You know, just like pay them all their own attention. You know, if the
Right.
big ones take a little bit longer, give them a little bit longer. If the
Do
little
you mind
ones
if I add a
take
little
time-
more chicken fat?
You know what? It would be my pleasure.
Because my skillet has a little divot in the middle, or it's like,
Yeah,
The
and
chicken
also
fat's
as they
kind of-
cook, they are absorbing the fat, which like don't think about too much, but
Yum.
you know. Okay, so I'm gonna crush these spices, and I like to keep spices generally pretty coarse, which is good because, thank you. You know,
I agree with that. I concur.
I think it looks nice, but I also like the texture that they bring.
I
And-
especially like to do that with coriander seeds.
Yeah, coriander's lovely. That we can agree on.
Just not white peppercorns.
I know. I felt like I could have really rolled with it, but I wanted to be honest. I wanted to like
I could
establish
tell
a
when
level
there
of
was like a little
honesty
bit of
with
a
our
pause,
friendship.
like she is not feeling my comment about white peppercorns. But it's okay, to each his own, to each her own.
Okay. I forget in the book if I mix this with salt. I think that I do. Where's that kosher salt at? It's right there.
Right here.
Yeah.
And Allison's using a mortar and pestle, but you also, in your book, you say you can use a spice grinder if you want, or you could probably just put it in a Ziploc bag and
Beat the hell out of it.
beat the hell out of it.
Yeah, you can also, I've chopped it with a knife, and that's probably what I'm doing at home because my mortar and pestle is always dusty because I like to display it by my window for aesthetic purposes, but I don't actually use it. It's true.
Well, so we're in our New York City test kitchen where we have, I think, 6 mortar and pestles. And we like put them on the shelf, and then one day I was like, why do we have all these mortar and pestles
You, like,
on
throw
the
them
shelf?
all
We're never
away.
using them.
So making this kind of salt mixture already.
Okay.
So this has like your salt, your pepper, whatever. And the book has measurements. I don't expect you to just throw a bunch of stuff in a mortar and pestle and go for it. But, you know.
But you could.
But you could. Okay, so our spice mixture looks like that. It's really lovely. And I always kind of have like a little batch of it, and I use it on lots of stuff. I've even put it on roasted vegetables. Thank you.
I'm gonna heat up your pan for you.
Thank you. So you just want to season them on all sides. A word about lamb chops, real quick. You guys got really, really beautiful ones, and I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
And they're not Frenched. So if you notice sometimes in restaurants or when you think of a lamb chop, like a fancy lamb chop, the bone is very clean, and you have this like little perfect bit of meat on the end, and it looks kind of fancy.
Yeah.
And these are very much not that, and I like that. I think that you should never remove all of this fat. There's not much meat on there, but it is delicious for nibbling on, and you deserve it.
Totally.
You know, it's like a little snack. It's a little meat snack.
And so to that point, we actually looked to buy some that were already cut that weren't French, and it was a little difficult. So what we did was we just bought the rack and
Yeah,
sliced
you
it.
may
It's
need to go to a butcher for that. But that said, were you only able to find lamb chops that were Frenched? This will be also very delicious and worth your time. So
Yes. But learn
flip
to
them
eat
on?
the whole chop.
yeah, it also just looks a little more. Oh, there's a stick. Sometimes when you get spices, there's like a stick in there. Surprise. Okay. Okay, how are those?
I just turned it up because what I realized was on this induction burner, the medium high setting was like quite, there was I turned it for like another inch before, oh wait, now it's high. I don't know what I'm doing.
We're really cooking here, folks. Yeah, no, it's very, induction burners,
It was a wide range for the
it's like a new
medium-high
friend.
setting.
Yeah, you have to like spend a lot of time with them in different scenarios to like really know who they
And
are.
different pans.
Yeah. Okay.
This is a giant
I'm gonna
pan.
grab some oil from you.
Yes.
Cool. So, lamb chops are really fatty. You don't need a ton of fat to get them started, but there's a lid on there. But
Oh.
you do need a little bit.
Just
So-
to get it going.
Just like you want it nicely evenly coated. You could use a cast iron skillet for this. You could grill these. You could, do a lot. Don't let that
Like
get hot.
pretty much cook them however you want to cook them.
Yeah, but like these with this spice rub are really hard to not be delicious, right?
Is this what it's about?
Yeah. You could also.
And they cook in like 6 or 7 minutes.
Yeah, lamb chops
Yeah.
are highly underrated. I feel like people again, I feel like they translate to something that's a lot fancier than they are. But they cook really quickly.
Yeah.
They cook faster than a chicken thigh. Whoa. And a pork chop.
And a pork chop.
Whoa.
And they're easier to cook to the correct temperature.
And they're cute.
Oh, which is perfect for the Oscars.
Which
because
is
they're
exactly
handheld.
what I was thinking. Exactly.
I was talking about having handheld food, and then I was like, forget handheld food, but this is handheld food.
Yeah, because we're gonna hold it with our hands. All right, I'm going to put them on now. Our skillet's pretty hot. I'm gonna turn it up a little bit. And you basically wanna look for shimmering oil in the way that you would for any piece of meat that you are searing.
And so are you the type of person that heats, so I feel like there are two types of cooks. Like some people who add the oil and that's how but when the pan is cold and then they kind of like watch it, or are you the kind of like heat the pan up and then add the oil kind of?
I do it all. I feel like I rarely cook the same way twice.
Yeah.
I have habits and I do things, but with something like that, sometimes it depends on the situation. If I'm just like cooking, I'll put a pan on, I'll come back, I'll put the oil on, I'll come back, I'll put the food on. I don't ever start oil from cold, really. Okay, these are hot.
I happen to love lamb chops. And so we were talking earlier about some of the stuff that, the more popular things that people are making from your books. And you said actually people are not really cooking the lamb, or they're cooking the ground lamb.
They're cooking ground lamb. There's a lot of people cooking a lot of things from the book, but you just kind of notice, everyone cooks salmon, everyone cooks chicken. And I think ground lamb is a really cool weeknight thing for people, especially that dish. There's a dish with ground lamb and crispy chickpeas and Swiss chard and yogurt. It's like a bowl for dinner. And so I think it's very approachable. And lamb chops seem, again, maybe just something like that you would have on a Saturday versus a Wednesday, but I think that they're You could make them on a Monday, and they'd be delicious.
But that's what's so funny about it is because they cook up so quickly that it's almost like they're built to be like the perfect weeknight
Yeah,
thing.
truly.
I'm turning these. I don't know if they're.
They're beautiful. Yeah, they're great.
That one's got
They look
really
really
nice,
good.
crispy, craggly
I know,
pieces.
they look really good. So while these go, this is kind of like a one skillet situation, and they're gonna get some chopped scallions, crispy peanuts, a little vinegar to kind of make a sauce in the skillet so they, which will go really well with those potatoes. So I'm gonna chop these peanuts. Most peanuts come already roasted and salted, which is fine by me because
why do the work? What do you want? Oh, a knife?
Yeah, thank you. I didn't bring my own. Very unprofesh.
That's okay, because getting into our office with a knife is very difficult.
That's true, yeah. It's like flying.
They're gonna wanna like scan it and hold it, and then they're gonna call me, and they're gonna be like, you need to come get this knife, because somebody has a knife.
And then someone
Which is fine, I appreciate the level of security.
Okay, I'm gonna turn this bad boy up a little bit. Again, like a new friend, you really gotta spend some time with it to know what it's gonna do and how it's gonna do it. And we just met, so things are off to a slow start, but I think it'll be good.
So what do we do with these onions, and when do I get them in?
You get them in after the potatoes come out.
Okay.
So they're not going in with the potatoes, they're going in
After.
I think, honestly, I feel like I've done these before where I say something and then I actually read the recipe in the book. I'm like, oh, that's not what I said at all. But
that's okay.
to which I say, I'm just demonstrating the many ways you can do this. But I'm pretty sure that this is how I say to do it in the book.
You were like making your spice mixture, like, I don't remember if I put salt in it, but I'm putting salt in it.
Yeah, that's just one way to do it.
You're gonna do.
We're very flexible here.
And then I have your scallions, because you're gonna want
Thank you.
scallions, right?
Yeah, I want
I think
scallions.
you just need 4. I'm trying to remember the recipe. And
Who
then you
could
have
say?
parsley. You have your peanuts.
Okay, so once those are crisp on both sides, you can transfer them to your plate, and then you're
Right.
gonna add your butter, and then you're gonna let it foam up and get melty, and then you're gonna add your onions, and don't touch them. You want
Okay.
them like fried into like the rings. Again, not onion rings, rings of onion. So
Because Allison is not trying to fool you into thinking you're getting crispy
I would never do that to you.
buttermilk onion rings.
Okay, these are almost about done.
Already?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh,
well,
I
on
have to
one
hurry.
side,
I'm
just
cooking
on
the
one side.
potatoes.
Don't get too excited. Just on one side.
Okay, so I leave the chicken fat in here, and then I just add some. I add the butter, right?
What? Sorry, I just checked
Sorry,
out for a second.
I'm leaving the chicken fat. I'm
Yeah.
adding the butter. Okay. So now we're getting like double deliciousness.
Again, very decadent, very Oscars worthy.
One of the things I want to show is this beautiful fish spatula, because right before we went live, Allison was like, "Do you have a fish spat?" And
Which is
then
what we call it in the biz,
in the
fish spat. Very cool and casual.
So if you do not have a fish spat, you need to get one. They're available pretty much anywhere, and this is literally the most versatile spatula spat ever, because not only is it a spatula, but it's like your serving device, it's like your spoon, it's like pretty much an all-purpose kitchen tool.
Yeah, I use it for literally everything. Actually, mine has been missing for like 3 months now because I was doing these events with a cookbook and I would bring them places, all my tools, and I haven't replaced it yet, and it's driving me insane, and I don't know why. So I have to I think after this, just go buy a fish spatula. I keep waiting for it to appear somewhere.
I
It's not
prefer the
gonna-
ones with the thin wooden handles, but some of the ones that you find have like that really thick silicone handle.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I don't like it. It's really uncomfortable. Okay, so I have these in here. No salt or anything, right? You just let them go?
Season them, yeah.
Oh, I could? Okay.
Oh, shit. Oh, we should have seasoned those too. So season those now. They should have been seasoned with salt and pepper.
Okay, I'm gonna hit this with here. What kind of salt on the potatoes?
Flaky.
Flaky. We have flaky salt.
Flaky. Again, just like potatoes, filet chops, depending on where they are in the skillet, are gonna cook at different times, and you're gonna have to treat each one like it's its own unique little child and give it its own sort of special attention. So this
want
one
me to
was
cut
ready.
some parsley?
These ones aren't.
What
yeah.
is the parsley for? I forget. I think it's for the
It's for
potatoes.
the top, yeah. I'm a big fan of just like a very coarse chop.
Okay,
That's great.
there we go.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. All right, so we got our parsley for our potatoes. What's really great, and what I want to point out is like, this is obviously a cooking show, and
'cause we're
one of the
cooking
things
on
that
it.
we have not had to do on this episode of Mad Genius Live is have a swap. which is like really cool for a cooking show because we're literally doing everything live.
What's a swap for those at home?
So a swap is when you're doing a cooking demonstration and then you have to actually have something that's already finished or already done because you don't have enough time to do it live. But in this case, we're literally doing this whole entire meal live. I'm gonna move this around. So we're getting like a whole dinner.
Yeah.
A whole Oscars dinner.
I'm gonna turn that just slightly
Turn it up or down?
down. I think,
Okay,
well,
yeah.
365 looks good. And and I like to keep them in like that like ring shape. Just, it's cool looking. If yours don't stay in the ring shape, that's cool too.
And then I keep turning this wrong. Okay, there we go. It smells so good.
It does smell really good.
It smells super good.
Okay.
So we got our potatoes going. We have our lamb.
I would at this point, like as they're cooked, put the other ones in and just kind of keep cooking them. But in the interest of time, and there's only 2 of us, we each get a lamb chop.
I could usually eat 3 of those lamb chops, though. I'm not gonna lie.
That's true.
I'm gonna start assembling this salad here.
Great.
So one of the things I love about Alison's book and how she cooks in general is like it's very casual and it's very like.
If you couldn't tell.
Like don't overthink it. Just kind of make food.
Yeah, that tastes good. And for this kind of meal, when we were talking about what to make, it's like, okay, we have our crispy lamb chops, we have our crispy potatoes. They're kind of both very rich, and we need something that's gonna be like a nice break from all that richness, which enter a cool salad. And it can be literally any of your favorite greens. We're using a mix of chicories and little gem lettuces, but all you have to do is get those, squeeze some lemon over it. We're gonna add some celery because Justin's feeling fancy. Maybe a little cuke.
How do you feel about celery or
I love celery.
So how should I cut this? So I actually love to use the leaves.
Me too.
So I'm gonna use the leaves. And because they're super pretty, just add them in here. I'm only helping you along because you're very busy with the lamb.
I'm super busy.
Oh my gosh,
The lamb's
tell me what to
taking
do
a lot of
here.
my
Am I
attention.
good?
Yeah.
They look really good, actually.
Kind of swirl them around.
I
get
panicked
those
for a minute
ones.
because I turned away for like 1 second and then I was like, they're
Well,
browning!
I've never cooked with a skillet that's like everything is even, the whole skillet around. In a perfect world, that's how food would cook. That's not the world we live in.
No, I'm just chopping some of
great.
this because we're gonna move it along because once you get that lamb plated, I have a very special surprise for you.
Oh my God, this is a legit surprise. So these are done. The nice thing about lamb chops also is, generally speaking, by the time they're golden brown on both sides, they're cooked through. And they're not gonna be overdone, and they're not gonna be too rare. They're gonna be just right.
But if you like them a little more well cooked, not that I do, not that I'm recommending it, you could just cook
Are
them
you
on
trying
their
to tell
own.
me something?
No.
Extra well done for Justin.
No, I like them medium rare, but when I cook for family, sometimes they like them well done, so I go a little bit further on them.
That's true. I also, if you want some extra credit, you can like crisp up the fatty side, which I suppose I should have actually
So can
done
I
first.
top these potatoes?
Top them.
All right, I'm going in, grab this,
Coming in hot.
coming in hot with these rings of onions, not to be confused with
Onion rings.
onion rings, because they're definitely not onion rings.
No, they're not. Okay. We have lamb chops. And then in the same skillet, I'm not even gonna, or do I drain the fat? I forget what I even do. You know what? I'm not draining the fat. I like
Don't
lamb
do it.
fat. I'm gonna add scallions.
And this part
pan is
happens really
large.
fast.
Yeah, you're just tossing them in all the business. Season them. And
I
you're
feel
kind of
like I
using
know this recipe.
Why? Like from a dream?
No, because I read it once.
Oh.
And then I feel like I knew what I
Right,
had to do.
that's the idea.
Which is like the idea, right?
And so this will take the edge off the raw scallion, but also give you a chance to like get those lamby bits that are sticking to the bottom of your skillet. And then I'm adding some unseasoned rice wine vinegar. And then I'm gonna figure out how to turn this off and then turn it off.
You just push the off button.
Nailed it, figured it out. Who's a genius now, Justin? Figured out how to turn off the induction burner.
Everyone I have on the show is going to be an honorary Mad Genius. Look at this. It's so fun. And look how special it is.
It's
You're
super
getting your
special.
veg. All right, so we got our potatoes, we got our lamb. I think you're gonna hit that with the peanuts. We have our very improvised salad.
I'm
and
gonna hit
now,
that with the peanuts.
while you hit it with the peanuts, I'm gonna sneak off and grab my surprise. Because I made dessert for you, Allison, and I'm hoping it's worthy of you and your grandma.
Oh my
Because
God!
I made your sorbet cups.
So sweet!
So this is actually from Alison's book, and I really wanted to make it because it's not only really special, and she talks about it's your grandma's thing, right?
I may actually cry. This is real emotion, people.
So it's
oh
just
my God.
grapefruits and other citrus that you hollow out, and you fill with sorbet, and it's so cute.
Sweet, thank you.
And I love it.
Oh my God. Yeah, my grandma used to make these when we would have a sleepover, like if my parents were having date night or whatever. And what's really funny actually about these is that my sister was like, what's with that fake story about grandma in your book making us sorbet cups for sleepovers? And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, did she never do that for you? And I found out that they never did it
wow.
for 6 years
my gosh.
apart. And I think by the time my sister came around, my grandma was over it. So it was really just for me.
She realized,
she thought I had
like-
fabricated the story for like the sake of like a tale, but this actually happened to me. I'm sorry, it didn't happen to anyone else in
You
my
created
family.
family drama
I
with
know.
sorbet and grapefruit cups.
Yeah.
But this
This
in
looks
my
great.
opinion, is
Oh.
like a really great Oscars party.
Let's hit this.
Oh,
with
yeah,
some
you got your Aleppo.
Yeah.
And
I
then we're
like
good to
things
go.
spicy, but feel free to like abstain if that's not your speed.
So if you're just tuning in, welcome to Mad Genius Live. I have my guest, Alison Roman, talking about her new book, Dining In. She's the queen of eating at home and transforming really simple food into something that's really special, like her crispy smashed potatoes, her lamb chops. Both recipes can be found in Dining In and in the comments below. We're linking to them. But then also get the tip and the recipe for her grandma's sorbet grapefruit cups.
Which is it's actually the recipe on the back of the book. It's like these cups, and
That she definitely made because she was wearing that really cute lemon shirt.
well, fun fact about the lemon shirt, I'm glad you brought that up. People have been asking me, where did you get that lemon shirt? I really would like one. And the best part is that it's a merch shirt from Beyonce's Lemonade tour in the UK, which like they
Oh
don't
my
sell
gosh.
here, but a friend of mine designed it. Her name is Alyssa Tobias. She's great. And she designed all of Beyonce's merchandise for all of her tours, and this was like an exclusive UK. So it actually says Beyonce where it's tied. And
That's freaking amazing.
that was not an intended shot. That was like literally I was just cooking all day, and I'm so glad that it
And
made
it's
it
so
in.
cute, and it goes perfectly with the grapefruit cups. So make sure you pick up Alison's
sweet.
book, Dining In. Alison, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And
Thank you for making those. That's so
We're gonna have
sweet.
to have you back.
Oh, I'll be back.
So, and I'm gonna get a picture of this for social because I have
Yeah,
to.
for so.
And I'm gonna eat a crispy potato right now.
Well, I'm gonna eat a lamb chop.